I have made reading my entire personality for my entire life. So I guess you could call me a reader. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife, and today I am taking the I Am a Reader book tag. I was tagged in this by Jo from Jo Linsdell, and I absolutely love her channel, so it is definitely one that you need to go and check out. The tag was created by Penguin, the publisher, to celebrate the release of The Reader, a book by Tracy Chee. It gives you a chance to look back at your reading life so far, what it is that inspired you to pick up a book in the first place, and how it is that you would qualify yourself as a reader now. The first question is to choose one word that would describe the experience of being a reader. And for me, that one word is escapism. It is no secret that there is so much going on in the world right now that it's just good to crack open a book and to forget about what is going on outside of it for a couple of hours. And that doesn't necessarily need to be a fantasy book or something that doesn't take place on our mortal realm. It can be anything. I am not a big fantasy reader. I like my stories to take place on this planet. But even so, there have been so many books that I have turned to just for that burst of happiness and to forget about all of my problems and all of the problems of the world in general, just for a couple of hours to completely break free. Question 2 is, what is the first book that you fell in love with? And for me, it was way back when I was a child, and Matilda by Roald Dahl. I fell in love with this book instantly, and I really do feel that that is what shaped me as a reader, because it follows a reader herself. Matilda is huge about books. It's one of her favorite things to do is to just go to the library and read. Matilda was one of the first chapter books that I ever read cover to cover by myself. There were maybe a couple of pages that I would have needed help from one of my parents for, but for the majority of that book, I believe strongly that that is the one that really kickstarted it all. Question 3 is almost the eternal debate: hardback or paperback, ebook versus audio. I feel like I have moved away from hardbacks. I don't particularly like how heavy they are, particularly if I am traveling somewhere. I don't bring a lot of hardbacks with me because they can be quite bulky and quite heavy. So if I'm just bringing a small bag or an over-the-shoulder bag, for example, I feel like it really weighs me down on the side that I'm carrying it. So for ease of transportation, and also just because it's lighter to hold, it's generally a paperback if I'm reading physically. As for ebooks and audiobooks, I feel like I have really upped my audio game book in the last couple of years. I went from somebody who never read a book as an audiobook to that being my most used method of reading for the last couple of years. I don't know if that is because I feel like I can read while I am at work, I can read while I'm cleaning the house, or I can go out and walk and still be listening to a book. But I feel like audiobooks have become such an integrated part of my life that it almost feels strange without them. Ebooks, I feel like I've moved away from them quite a lot in the last couple of years. Ebooks have really gone down in how much I have taken them in. I have tried over the last while to bring that back up a little bit, just to reach for my Kindle now and then when it's a book that I know I have on there, but that's definitely something that I need to improve upon. Question 4, how has reading shaped your identity? It has become quite a big part of my identity. Like I said at the beginning, I very strongly identify as a reader, and a lot of my friends, family, social circle have also noticed that, to the point that I have become a go-to person for book recommendations. If I know somebody who's going on holiday, if there's somebody who is kind of struggling with what they want to read over the next couple of weeks, they'll usually turn to me. They will usually text me and say, hey, I'm going away for a couple of weeks, I don't know what to bring with me. Or, I read this and I really loved it and I want something that's similar. What do you have that you would recommend? I have really become this kind of fountain of knowledge when it comes to what to read, why to read it, new releases that are coming out, old bag list books that I definitely need to pick up but I've missed out on. I've just become that kind of go-to person. But also it has helped me to meet people that without reading, I never would have met. If I wasn't a reader, if I wasn't so big about reading that I wanted to talk about it on the internet, there is no chance that I would have made half of the friendships that I've made, that I would have made half of the connections that I have with people from pretty much all around the world. I have people from Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the US, Asia, Africa, other parts of Europe that I would never have met had it not been for reading. Question 5. What book do you read when you feel that you need to be comforted? There are two specific roads that I go down when this is the case. The first one is childhood favorites. I need to re-escape into something that is familiar, that feels like a hug in a book, that I know the story inside and out, that is something that I grew up with. For instance, I have read the Better Brown Stories by Alan Alberg, I would say about 15 billion times across my life. It is just one of my favorite, comforting, kind of comedic, funny, interesting, quirky stories that I just go back to time and time and time again. And the other one is romance books. Romance books follow such a formula that even though you are almost sure what's going to happen, even though you know what the next step in the story is, it's just such a gentle way to bring you along. And I really enjoy escaping into that world of happiness and love and good vibes, particularly when things aren't going super well. I need to see it going well for other people. Question 6. Who taught you to be a reader? I have spoken about my dad on this channel so many times. I have given him so many bouquets of flowers for how big a love of reading he instilled upon me. How every single night we would read a book together, or he would read one to me before I was able to read independently. So we're going to leave that to the side, and we're going to talk about my teacher, Mrs. Fives. I had her when I was in first class, so I would have been about 7 or so years old. And she brought something into the school called shared reading. It was a brand new concept she had brought in herself, where students and their parents would sit together one evening a week and just read a book together. It would help them develop their vocabulary. It would help them to develop a bond between parent and child. And I loved the idea of it. We had a huge library in the classroom that we could pick from, and it had so many options in there. Whether it was just fun little stories, whether it was kind of mini encyclopedias that were perfect for 7 or so year olds, I loved that thing. And I vividly remember we had a kind of an end of term party for it, where parents would come, we would get certificates that said that we had taken part in the shared reading course for the 6 weeks, and everyone had to present what their favorite book was. At the time, I had been bitten by the acting bug, and I had done a couple of productions in my local theatre, and there was one that I was taking part in where I was playing the part of a flamingo in the chorus of The Lion King. So I had read a book, I think it was by D.K. Witness or so, and it was an encyclopedia of animals that you would see in Africa, and one of them was a flamingo. As soon as I saw that, I honed in on it, and that became my favorite book. And for some reason, when I said that that was the reason I thought it was my favorite, everyone in the audience thought that that was the funniest thing that I'd ever heard. I don't quite know the reason behind it. Maybe I just have great comedic timing. The next question is to describe your dream reading lounge. In my notes, I have written 4 words. Just word vomit, bestie. So strap in, because that is what we are going to do. If I had all the money that I could ever want to set up a reading area, particularly as I wanted it, this is exactly what I would do. First of all, I want the door to be one of those hidden door things. You know, where you have to pull a book towards you and then it will swing a door open and you can enter this space. That's exactly what I want. I want a big open fireplace that I can set going every single day and that I can just snuggle in. Blankets. There has to be about 20,000 blankets in this room, because if it's too cold, then I can just snuggle up under the blanket. And if it's too warm, then I still have like a blanket fort that I can make. I really love the idea of an L-shaped couch. I don't know what it is, but I just love having a corner in the couch that I can cozy up to and that I have both sides available to me. I don't know what the reason for that is. Maybe it's that I can leave some things on my right side and some things on my left side if I want to have like chocolate this side and other books that I can read on this side. Whatever the reason for it is, I want to have a big sectional couch there. Couch needs to be deep. I love a big, deep seating area where I can really curl up almost my entire body onto it. If one of my knees is hanging over the side of this couch, it is too narrow. I'd also love there to be a bunch of floor to ceiling windows. I am a big lover of natural lighting, and particularly when I'm going to be reading, that's exactly the kind of vibe that I want. I'd also love to have a magically restocking snack and drinks corner. So I can have like an espresso machine, I can have like a bar set up, but I can also have snacks that will just never run out, be that crisps or chocolate or whatever the flavor that I'm feeling for the day is, they're just magically there. I feel like some of this might be a little bit too stretch of the imagination, but if that was what I could have, I don't think I would ever leave. Final question is, what is a book that has changed the way that you act or the way that you see the world? For this, it's actually a book that I've only finished a couple of weeks ago, and that was Here One Moment by Liane Moriarty. The concept of this was immediately what stuck out to me. If you have seen Lost, if you have seen Manifest, it's kind of a similar vibe to that. It is about a group of passengers who are on a plane from Hobart to Sydney in Australia. The plane is about 2 hours delayed, and everybody is getting a little bit cranky and antsy and just wants to take off. But at the front of the plane, a passenger who is in her late 80s, early 90s stands up, points to the middle of the forehead of every single person on the plane, and tells them a diagnosis and an age. People are in two camps about this. A lot of people see this as super real. This is written in stone. This is how my life is going to go. And other people just laugh it off instantly. This woman is delirious with having to wait for how long she's had to wait for her plane, or she is tired, or she's had a little bit too much to drink and she should be thrown off the plane. But a couple of weeks later, some of her predictions start to come true. We follow a couple of people from that plane trip for about 6 or 8 weeks after the flight. Some of them are passengers, some of them are people who have worked on the plane, and they are getting a little bit worried about the predictions starting to come true because theirs are basically steering them down the barrel. Some of them have been given long lives. Some of them, their life may be cut a little bit shorter than they were comfortable with. This book really changed how I see things. It made me think about what I would do if I was in such a situation. And if somebody had come up to me and said, this is the way that you are going to die, and this is the age you will be when it happens. I thought about it for ages. If I knew either of these pieces of information, how would I live my life differently? Would I avoid doing this thing that I know is predicted to be my downfall? Would I spend the entire year of the age that I had been given always taking a step back and expecting what for most people would be the unexpected, but for me, I would know that it was coming from a mile off? It made me think so much about how it is that I see the world and how people interact with things on a day-to-day basis. It's one of the most thought-provoking books I have read in such a long time. Those are my answers to the I am a reader tag. What is the book that you think made a reader out of you? If you'd love to leave me a comment but you can't think of anything you'd like to say, then just leave me a books emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.